work on or focus on?
I'm tight kind of in here, but otherwise nothing.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's a good place to start. So, yeah, we're just gonna start in seated. So, if you're in a good, comfortable seated position, that works. I usually will have a block or something under me for my hips, but if you've got a blanket or pillow or anything you like using, feel free to use it.
All right.
Oh, and just because I hit record after I said hi to you, this is our 7 a.m. gentle class, and I'm Danielle. And when you find your comfortable seated position, we're going to start with a gentle kind of movement of the shoulders. You can start to roll your shoulders back and maybe shrug them up to your ears and then relax them, let them slide down the back. So just some organic movements that feels good to you. If you roll your shoulders back, you might want to roll them forward if that feels good, or one at a time. And then let your shoulders settle down away from your ears. Reach your fingertips out towards your sides, towards the mat, and then drop your right ear to your right shoulder. If you want to use your right hand on your left ear to kind of guide your head over to the side, you can, as long as you're not pulling or wrenching on it. You really want to let
I can't hear you though.
Oh, can you hear me now? Okay. I had to take out my AirPods, so hopefully this works. Alrighty. If you got enough stretch on this side, you can start to switch sides. If you need a little bit more time, you can spend a little bit more time here. Whenever you're ready, you can release that hand back down to the mat and let your head float back to center.
And then drop your left ear to your left shoulder if you haven't already. And while you're in this pose, maybe soften some other areas of tension. Soften the eyes and soften the jaw so that you're not just transferring tension from one area to another. And then bring your head back to center. Maybe roll the shoulders one more time. And then we're going to take a really gentle twist. It's probably the first twist of the morning, so nothing too crazy. But we'll start by sitting nice and tall and then place your right fingertips right behind you so that you can sit up nice and tall. It's almost like your arm is acting as a second spine. Bring your left hand to your right knee and start to look over your right shoulder. And since it's a gentle twist, you don't have to go very far. But as you inhale and you feel your spine lengthening, and you exhale, you might feel like you can relax a little bit deeper into the twist. Take one more breath here, and then release back to center. Switching sides, placing your left fingertips behind you. Right hand comes to your left knee. And bring your gaze over your left shoulder. Take one more breath. As you exhale, return to center. And we're going to take a few torso circles. So hinging from your hips, start to lead from your heart. These circles can be as big or as small as you want. And switch directions. And come back to center when you feel pretty even. And we'll move into child's pose. So you can get there however you want. Since I'm already cross-legged, I usually like to rock forward. And then bring my knees out wide to the edge of my mat. Big toes come to touch. Send your hips back to meet your heels. And slide your hands forward on the mat. You can rest your forehead on the mat if you want. If you'd like to, you can grab a block or a rolled up blanket or a towel or something to rest under your forehead if that feels good for you. And take a minute while you're here in child's pose to check in with your breath. See if it feels fast or slow to you. If it feels deep and full, or if it feels like it's getting caught on some area of tension or pain. It's making your breath feel short and shallow. And you don't need to force yourself to change it. You know, this is not a vinyasa class where you're doing an ujjayi breath throughout the practice. But sometimes bringing your awareness, bringing your focus to your breath can help it flow more naturally. Or it can just tell you a little bit about where you're at in this moment. And we'll take 3 more breaths here before we get ready to move. After your last breath, press yourself up to a tabletop position. So your knees come under your hips, your shoulders are stacked over your wrists, fingers are spread out nice and wide and pressing into the mat. And take some organic movements here, maybe hinge back and forth a little bit, or snake side to side. And just kind of reminding the spine of all the different directions that it can move. And then we'll take a few cat-cows. This is a good place where you can start to kind of connect your breath to the movement. As you inhale, drop the belly, lift your tailbone, and squeeze the shoulder blades together and back away from the ears. As you exhale, round the spine, drop your head and your neck so that you can relax everything and move through with your own breath. Coming into cow with your inhale, cat with your exhale. So you might be moving a little bit faster or slower than me, and that's okay. Take one more full cycle of moving through cow with your inhale, cat with your exhale. Whenever you finish that cycle, we'll return to a neutral tabletop position with a nice flat back. And from here, we'll take thread the needle. So for thread the needle, you want to shift your weight into your left palm so that you can lift up your right arm. And then as you exhale, slide that hand under your left armpit, like you're threading a needle. You can bring that shoulder all the way down to the mat. If that feels okay, you can rest your cheek on the mat. If that doesn't feel okay, you can always put blocks or blankets or pillows up underneath that shoulder. And if you'd like to, you can slide your left hand forward. Slide your left hand back under your shoulder. Press yourself up. Lift your right hand up once more before setting it down and switching sides. So this time shift weight into your right palm. Lift your left arm up. Exhale, slide it through under your armpit. Find your pose on this side. When you feel even and balanced, you can bring your right palm under your shoulder, lift your left arm once more, and bring it back down for your tabletop. So in a gentle class, I usually don't do a lot of up, down, or full sun salutations, but we'll take one or two down dogs just to get our inversions in, because that's always good. So I usually will move my hands one handprint forward on the mat, fingers spread wide, pressed into the mat like a starfish. And then when you're ready, tuck your toes, lift your hips, lift your knees, and press up into down dog. You can pedal out your down dog, straightening one leg and then the other, especially if you have tight hamstrings. Probably feel that a lot. And your heels can press down towards the mat. They may or may not actually meet the mat. You can bend your knees as much as you need to so that you can press your heart towards your thighs as you lift up your hips so that you're creating one long line from your wrists to your shoulders to your hips. And take a breath here. Maybe take a breath in through the nose and sigh it out through the mouth. And then gaze forward to the spot between your hands and baby step your feet forward until they come between your hands so that you can come into a forward fold. Your feet can be hip width apart or big toes touching, but let the whole top half of your body hang loose. You can sway your hands side to side. You can rest your pinkies in your elbows if you want. You can shake your head yes, shake your head no, shake your head yes again. Till everything's completely loose. And then slowly start to roll up to a standing position, but take it very, very slowly, almost like you're going one vertebra at a time. Maybe you start to engage your core just a little as you come up to support your spine. But your head and neck are the very last things to come up. And then once the crown of your head comes up, you can shine your palms forward, setting your shoulders down and back away from the ears. And root down through your feet. You can even shift your weight back in your heels forwards into the balls of your feet, back and forth until you find that in between where you feel balanced and stable. Maybe lift up your toes and try setting them down one at a time. Getting a good grip on the mat. And then making sure that there's a micro bend in your knees so that you're not locking your knees out. Inhale your arms up overhead for extended mountain. As you exhale, take a little back bend, and you can bring your arms to cactus arms if you want. Squeezing those shoulder blades together. Come back up to extended mountain. And then forward fold. You can bring your hands through heart center if you want. And hang loose here in your forward fold again. And inhale to a halfway lift. This time your hands can come to your shins or your thighs. Suck your belly button into your spine. Your gaze is down towards your mat so that your neck is long like your spine. And then forward fold again. And this time, big move. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead to extended mountain pose. Exhale, mini back bend. You can take the cactus arms or not if you want. Come back to standing. And then bring your hands to heart center in mountain pose. And we're going to move into some standing poses. So, starting with a warrior two, you can step your left foot out so that it's still parallel to the short edge of the mat. And then rotate your right foot out so that it's pointing forward. You can adjust your stance if you need to here. And then arms come out to both sides and your gaze comes over your right middle finger. You could take some time to sink into your hips here and to make sure that your right knee is tracking right over your right big toe. And take one more breath here. On your next inhale, reach forward over your right leg and then tip over into extended side angle. You can rest your right forearm on your thigh if you want, or you can reach those fingertips down to the ground, or if you have a yoga block hanging around, or even if you don't, if you have a stack of books or something, you can reach those fingertips down towards it. You can keep your left arm extended, or you can drop that arm behind you to take a half bind. If you do that, focus on bringing the shoulder back and opening the chest to the side wall. If you are taking a half bind, you can bring that arm up overhead again and use that left arm to pull you up and over as you reverse your warrior. And stay low in the lunge in the front knee. Don't lose that beautiful lunge as you open your side body. And then bring both arms down to the sides. And your left foot is already parallel to the short edge of your mat. Pivot your right foot in to match it. And then bring your heels in a little bit so that your feet are turned out ballet style. We're going to come into horse pose or goddess pose. So bend your knees. And the tricky part is getting your knees to track over your toes. You can bring your hands to heart center, or you can bring your elbows in towards your rib cage, palms up, whichever feels good for you. And then sink into the hips. You can even take a little movement side to side if that feels okay for you. Some days I like this, some days I don't. So I leave it up to you if you want to do that. And then come back up to standing. Reach your arms overhead and out for 5-pointed star before bringing them down. And we're going to take warrior 2 on the other side. So you can either just rotate on your mat, or if you want to stay facing the camera, you can switch your feet around. So at this time, your left foot should be coming into a bend and your right foot is parallel to the short edge of your mat. And then spread your arms. Gaze comes over your front middle finger of your left hand. And sink into the lunge and into your hips. On your next inhale, reach forward. Exhale, tip over to extended side angle. Option to drop the right hand behind you for a half bind, or you can keep that arm up if you prefer. Pull the shoulder back so that you can open the chest. Make sure you're still breathing here, that you're, even though you're opening up the right side of your body, that you're not crunching up the left side and making it hard to breathe. And bring your right arm up overhead once again. Let that arm pull you up and over into a reverse warrior. Stay low in the lunge in your left knee, your left leg. And then bring the arms down. Pivot your right foot in so that you're sideways on your mat again. We're going to take a wide-legged forward fold. So starting with your hands on your hips, lean forward, leading with your heart. until you can't lean forward with a flat back anymore. Once you reach that point, you can either bring your fingertips down towards the mat or towards the block, or you can choose to fully collapse over, releasing the crown of your head down towards the mat. When you're ready to come back up to standing, move very slowly, walking your fingertips back towards your body. And then bend your knees, bend both knees so that you're coming into a very wide squat. And then you can place one hand and the other on your thighs as you come back up to standing. And you can straighten the legs and step the feet together. And we'll come down into seated. So you can work your way into seated however you want to. And we'll take a pretzel twist. So you can start by extending your right leg out in front of you. Left foot comes to the inside of the right thigh. Actually, how much do you feel like doing hamstring stuff today?
It's up to you. Doesn't bother me.
I'm gonna skip this part. I'm going straight into the pretzel. So you can place your left foot on the outside of your right thigh. Give your knee a good hug. And if you want to stay here, you can stay here. Some days this is enough for me to feel all the way through my glutes and into my hips. If you want to change up the intensity, you can try bringing that other heel in towards your body. Or you can keep it straight, whatever's working for you. And from here, again, you can stay, or you've got the option to start to look over your right shoulder and take a twist. You can try twisting both ways because sometimes I feel more sensation twisting over to the left. Sometimes I feel more twisting to the right. So this is another one of those good poses that you get to decide which one actually works best for you. If you've chosen a twist, you can return your torso back to center and then uncross your legs, extend them out in front of you. You can shake them out a little if that feels good, or windshield wiper the feet side to side. And we'll take a little pretzel on the other side, bringing your right foot to the outside of the left thigh, giving your knee a hug. And then you decide if you want to stay here, if you want to bring that left heel in towards your body, or if you want to take a little twist to either side. And if you want to stay here for a little bit longer, you can. If you're starting to feel pretty evened out, you can start to unwind and bring your legs straight out in front of you. Shaking them out, windshield wipering. And from here, we're going to take a pose called cat pulling its tail, which is kind of weird because I don't think I've ever seen a cat pull their own tail. But from here, with legs straight out, you want to rotate onto your left hip, and you can stay upright on your fingertips or you can come down to your forearm. But your bottom leg, which is your left leg, is going to bend, and you can reach your fingertips towards your foot. If you can grab it, great. If not, just reach towards it. And then your right leg is going to stay on top. And I like to bring mine, like my toes up towards my face a little bit. So my knees are not together anymore, but my right leg is kind of coming up. And if you've got a hold of your left foot, you can kind of kick that foot into your hand. So you're doing a couple of things here. You can go for a nice quad stretch in that left leg. You can also bring the focus into your right leg and kind of getting the outside of that hip and the thigh. take one more breath here to find the fullest expression that you want out of this pose. And then you can release your bottom foot, straightening it out, and roll back up to sitting before we roll over onto the other side. Again, you can stay up, you can come to your forearm. And start to bend the bottom leg, the right leg, and reach towards it. And see if you can find your sweet spot with your left leg, either bringing it towards you, or maybe it does stay closer to stacked on your left knee. And see if you can find the sweet spot where you get some sensation but not pain. And if you want to bring the quad stretch in with the bottom leg, you can. Pressing the foot into your hand, using your hand to draw that foot in towards you. And release your bottom leg. Bring the feet together, roll back to sitting, and shake out your legs or take whatever movement feels good. And we've got time for pigeon, but I wanted to leave it up to you. Do you prefer doing a traditional pigeon like this, or do you like doing the figure 4 version on your back?
I do both, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Very easy. Whatever you want to do.
All right. Well, since we've got the time for it, I think we'll move into a traditional pigeon. So for that, what I usually will do is kind of spiral my legs behind me and come up to tabletop. And you can get into it however you want if you've got it in your practice. But from tabletop, I'll usually take my right knee to my right wrist, right ankle towards my left hand. And then usually I've got to scoop my back leg out a little bit. But definitely take a look behind you and make sure that your foot is out straight, not doing anything funky. And if you want to, you can take like a little king pigeon by bending the knee and reaching for the foot. Or you can start to fold forward into your sleeping pigeon. As you start to move out of your pigeon pose, bring your hands under your shoulders and press yourself up. Shift your weight back into your hips. And then send that front foot back so that you can shake it out, stretch it out, bring some blood flow back into it. And then for the other side, bring your left knee to your left wrist, left ankle up towards your right wrist. Straighten out your back leg. Make sure it feels okay. And then release into your sleeping pigeon. And bring your hands under your shoulders, press yourself up and back. Send your front foot back, shake it out. And we're gonna work our way onto our backs, however you want to get there. My go-to is the hands behind the thighs and slowly rolling down. You can bring one knee and then the other up into your chest to give your knees a hug. You can rock side to side a little bit if that feels good, or you can make circles on the ceiling with your knees to massage that low back and the sacrum. And take whatever last minute movements you want before we set up for our final Shavasana and resting pose. You can take Shavasana on your back with your legs out in front of you if you like, or if it feels better on your low back, you can keep your knees bent with your feet on the mat. Once you find your resting pose, you can let your arms rest down by your sides, or you can rest hands on your belly if that feels better. Let your arms and legs start to feel heavy. If you notice any areas of tension, imagine breathing fresh, clean, bright air into that tension. And as you exhale the tension or the pain, melts away. And enjoy this time to thank your body for the hard work that it does for you on and off your yoga mat. And to let your yoga practice set in and sink in. Start to deepen your breathing. Feel the rise and fall of your belly and your chest as you inhale and exhale. And as you bring awareness back into your body, maybe start to bring some small movements into your fingers and your toes. You can roll your wrists and your ankles in little circles if that feels good for you. And taking your time, gently roll over onto your side, drawing your knees up towards you a little bit. You can use your arm as a pillow. And from here, if you're ready to, you can use your hands to press yourself up to a seated position, moving nice and slow. You can keep your eyes closed if you want to, or you can start to flutter them open and let some daylight in. And I want to thank you so much for doing yoga with me in the morning, this morning on a Thursday. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and namaste. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Yep, you too.
Bye.